I never thought my own engagement party would end with me bleeding into the white linen of a $3,000 suit. But let me start from the beginning, before the slap, before the wineglass shattered, before the world saw what my father truly was. I'm Mason Carter, 31, architect, quiet by nature, loyal to a fault, the kind of son who always said yes even when it hurt, and my family, loud, proud, and obsessed with appearances. My dad, Glenn, ran a small construction company that used to be successful before I took over and quietly made it profitable. Again, my mom, Cheryl, was the kind who called herself a queen every time she walked into a nail salon. And my younger sister, Sierra, she was the golden child with a taste for Chanel and a talent for weaponized crying. 4 years. I was the one they forgot in group photos, the one who paid the property tax and fixed the gutters, while Sierra got new teeth, new hair, and a brand new SUV on her birthday, all courtesy of the family fund, a fund I built. But I never complained, not really, because I believed that if I just kept giving, one day they'd see my worth. That belief finally died the day I got engaged. Her name was Natalie, a public school counselor with warmth in her eyes and dirt under her nails from gardening. She wasn't flashy, which my parents hated. She was kind, which my parents mocked. She was everything I wasn't allowed to bring home, but I didn't care. She loved me for who I was, not for what I provided. Still, I tried to give the engagement party they wanted. I rented out the garden terrace at a luxury hotel downtown. Live jazz, gourmet canapes, polished marble floors, and crystal glasses. Everything sparkled, except for their faces. Sierra showed up in white. Mom gave a backhanded toast that included the phrase, "We're just happy someone finally said yes to Mason." And Dad, he was quiet until the moment that changed everything. I was sipping champagne with Natalie, watching her laugh with my childhood friend Julian. When Dad pulled me aside, "You gave Sierra the money, right?" he said, low, like it was already a fact. I blinked. "What money?" He looked at me like I'd just told him I was moving to Mars. "She told us you promised her the wedding fund," he hissed. "The $100,000 for her destination wedding. You're not actually using that on this, right?" By this, he meant my fiancé, our engagement. I shook my head slowly. "That money's from my savings. My work, my business. It was for me. You guys said you were fine with that. You said you were family," he barked. "Sierra's wedding is going to be huge. What? You think this woman is more important than your blood?" That's when Natalie walked up, just in time to hear my dad call her just another gold digger with cheap shoes. I stepped in between them, heart pounding. "Don't talk to her like that." Dad's eyes narrowed, and then, without warning, he slapped me hard. The music stopped. Someone screamed. I think it was Natalie's cousin. And me, I just stood there, cheek burning, stomach twisting, hands trembling. He hit me, in front of everyone. At my engagement, over money iron, security rushed in. Guests murmured. Sierra cried, of course, begging everyone to please not make this about me. But it was already about her. And in that moment, something cracked open inside me. Not just anger, clarity. I finally saw it all. The years of manipulation, the favors never returned. The way they fed off my silence like it was fuel. And I made a quiet decision that would change everything. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't hit back. I would dismantle everything they depended on, piece by piece, quietly, legally. Publicly, they thought I was just the ATM's son. They were about to learn I was the architect of their comfort, and now I was redesigning them. Whole damn foundation. I didn't leave immediately. I stood there as the security guards awkwardly hovered, waiting for a signal, as guests tried to pretend they were looking at their drinks, instead of the train wreck unraveling in front of them. Dad adjusted his cuffs like nothing had happened. "Man up, Mason," he said. "It's just a slap. You embarrassed us." Natalie was crying, not because of the slap, but because she saw what I had endured alone for years, and that hurt her more than anything. I walked out of the terrace, not in a rage, but in complete stillness, the kind that comes before a storm. Behind me, Sierra chased after me in her Louboutins, huffing like she had been the one assaulted. "Mason, don't make this a thing," she cried. "You know how Dad gets when he's stressed." I turned. "I'm not giving you the money," I said, voice calm, final. "You're being selfish," she spat. "I'm the only daughter. You had your moment, why ruin mine?" I walked away. That night, Natalie and I sat on the floor of our modest apartment. No fancy penthouse. Just us and takeout noodles and the kind of quiet where truth can finally breathe. "I'm calling off the party," I said. She looked at me. "Why?" "Mason, not our wedding." I added. "Their performance, because that's all it had ever been. A stage for Sierra, a game for Dad, a photo op for Mom. I picked up my laptop and started logging into accounts, bank records, trust funds. The construction business Dad thought he still controlled. He didn't know I had taken over legal ownership 2 years ago when I saved it from bankruptcy. He didn't know I'd transferred the main property deeds, including the one to the house he still lived in, into my own name to protect it from his gambling debts. And he sure as hell didn't know I'd kept every abusive voicemail, every threatening text, every whispered conversation recorded on the office's security system for years. I built the empire they flaunted. Now, I was taking it back, but not in anger. In order. I started with the business, froze access, pulled the accounting books, scheduled an audit. Then the trust fund Mom used for her spa weekends, gone. Moved into a locked account with legal oversight. I sent Sierra an invoice for every family loan she never paid back, with interest. The next day, I went to the office and printed out a framed sign, respect is earned, not demanded. I hung it where Dad's portrait used to be, and then I scheduled a press announcement for the firm. Not about the drama, but about a major rebrand. A philanthropic architecture program in my name to fund affordable housing for struggling single parents, inspired by Natalie's work. The news picked it up, and guess whose name wasn't on the banner? Dad's. 2 days later, I got a call. Block number. I picked up. Son, we need to talk, Dad said. I looked at Natalie, smiled. And hung up. I wasn't his son anymore. Not the way he defined it. 3 weeks passed, 3 weeks of silence from my family. No apologies, no regrets, just whispered attempts to manage the story before it hit the community. But what they didn't realize, I wasn't interested in hiding the truth anymore. They weren't ashamed of what they did, only that someone saw it. So I made sure the world saw more. I didn't leak anything. I just lived loudly. Natalie and I launched the Carter Initiative, a new housing project with my firm's full backing. The mayor shook my hand at the launch. Cameras clicked. Social media went wild with headlines like, "Architect shuts out family, builds shelter for others from slap to salvation." How Mason Carter changed the narrative. Dad's friends stopped calling. Mom's country club friends asked if the rumors were true. Sierra lost a brand sponsorship when her PR rep discovered the engagement slap video had gone viral through a guest TikTok post. But I hadn't even started. I sent formal notices to my parents, vacate the second house within 30 days. It wasn't just a legal power move, it was a message. You don't get to enjoy the fruits of the tree you tried to cut down. They ignored it, of course, until a moving truck arrived one morning with a lawyer holding court orders in hand. My dad shouted. My mom wept dramatically on the porch. Sierra came flying out of her room in a pink robe screaming, "This is abuse. I'll call TMZ." The lawyer simply handed them a folder. Inside, a copy of the contract they had signed years ago, giving me ownership after the company nearly folded under Dad's mismanagement. Signatures, witnesses, notarized. They had nothing. I stood at a distance, watching. Natalie placed a quiet hand on my back as we watched them dragged out by the system they'd always assumed would protect them. "You okay?" she whispered. I was. But I wasn't done. I published an op-ed. No names, just truth. About how silence enables family abuse. About how being the good son almost killed the man I was meant to become. The piece went viral. Young men messaged me from around the country. I thought I was the only one. "Thank you for saying it. You gave me the courage to walk away." It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about healing. But karma? She wasn't quite done with them yet. 2 months later, I got an email. Subject, wedding invitation from Sierra. I opened it. It was digital. Tacky. A copy-paste mess of glitter fonts and grammatical errors. But what caught my eye was the venue. Address. My property. She hadn't realized it was one of the lands Dad had thrown into the family pot decades ago. That I now own. So I or SVPD with a simple legal response. Venue access revoked. Trespassing will be prosecuted. The wedding was canceled within days. I didn't hear from them again. But I saw the photos, or rather, the lack of them. Because the golden daughter didn't get her golden day. And the driver, as Dad once called me, he pulled up 6 months later to his own wedding, in a vintage black Jaguar. Beside a woman who never needed my money to believe in my worth. I wasn't just invited this time. I own the venue. The land. The business. The narrative. And I never had to raise a hand. I just built my own life, while theirs crumble on the foundation of lies they forced me to carry for years. Poetic justice didn't come with fists. It came with a pen, a deed, and a boundary drawn in stone. And I never looked back. But it wasn't just about kicking them out. It was about reclaiming every inch of space they had stolen from me, emotionally, mentally, financially. They used my love, my silence, and my bank account like it was their right. So I gave them nothing but paperwork. Sierra texted me one night. Her first message since the engagement disaster. "You've made your point. Can you stop now?" I didn't respond. The next day, I forwarded her message to her fiance's company. Turns out he was a junior exec at a firm we partnered with. He got demoted after they found out she had planned an unauthorized wedding on someone else's property. Their engagement quietly called off. Not because I said anything. Because truth always unravels where lies were stitched. My parents tried to file a complaint about me abusing the company, but HR handed them a binder. Every receipt, every meeting log, every contract they'd signed and forgotten while they were too busy favoring Sierra. They were left with nothing but embarrassment. Mom eventually showed up at my office, unannounced, tear-streaked, and full of dramatic sniffles. "Mason, honey, we were just trying to help your sister get a good start in life." I didn't blink. "You beat me down to give her a step up. That's not love, Mom. That's abuse with a fancy dress on." She broke, tried to cry harder. I handed her a box of tissues and called security. She left without a word. Natalie and I moved forward. We bought a lake house. Simple, quiet, surrounded by nature, and no guilt. Sometimes I'd look at the framed photo of my engagement party, the one I had printed deliberately. Right at the moment Dad slapped me. A reminder of how far I'd come, and how low I'd once been. I didn't erase my past. I honored it by never letting it define me again. Eventually, Sierra posted on social media, "Taking a break from toxic people. Healing starts now." The irony almost made me laugh, but I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because for once, for the first time in my life, I didn't owe them anything. Not my forgiveness. Not my money. Not even my anger. Just distance. That was the real inheritance I claimed for myself, and it was worth more than 100 wedding funds.